What's up, y'all? So, one of my favorite things, like, ever, is the chronic disease conundrum. Whether it's from family members or strangers, you'll get this, I don't know, underlying theme to how you experience your illness. And for me, I find that oftentimes I run into people that say, you don't look sick. And I think that's the funniest shit ever because what the fuck does a sick person look like? That's confusing to me. So, I was at, let's see, this is a while ago. This is back when I was in Louisiana. And I was in line at kind of their version of Kroger. It's like Rouse, Rousse, I think. I can't quite remember, but I'm in the grocery store and I had a migraine the night before, and so I was wearing sunglasses because I am incredibly sensitive to light after having a migraine. So yeah, I'm at the grocery store and I'm in checkout, and there's a woman that's giving out samples, and they're wine samples, and I say that, I can't have one because I just had a migraine. I'm just a fucking mess after having a migraine, and alcohol does not help. Then there's this guy in front of me, and I'm fairly certain maybe he had cerebral palsy or something, and he said that he had taken muscle relaxants. So alcohol and muscle relaxants do not go well together. And so we had this weird little bonding moment where this guy in front of him was like, yo, you should really try to get off that medicine. And the dude was like, dude, I need these to function. It's just weird. Like, if you're a person who believes that people want to hear your unsolicited advice about how to manage their disease, you are sorely fucking mistaken. No one wants to hear how they need to manage their disease, how they need to experience their disease from you. Don't do that shit. Whether it's your family, whether it's a stranger, especially if it's a stranger, like don't do that shit. Just don't. It's not fucking called for, it's disrespectful, and it's ignorant as fuck. So we had this weird little bonding moment over this guy kind of just inserting himself into this guy's life and trying to tell him how to live his life. And we go back and forth talking about how people kind of in our lives minimize our illness and minimize our experience as human beings. And it's just funny because I'm not a person who looks sick. I know that. I am absolutely aware of that. And I try my best to take care of myself and manage my disease as well as possible. But I do just get migraines sometimes. I fucking can't do shit all day. I'll have seizures. It's just not good shit. And there's no way to really measure that unless I go to like a hospital and get like a CAT scan while I'm having a migraine, and then turn that into, my employer to say, like, I had a migraine that day, so that's why I didn't come in. Like, it's such bullshit. And then I have this HS where it's obvious that there's an issue, but only if you're really looking for it. But it was just a weird experience, and an interesting bonding moment I had with another person who experiences, similar interactions with people that they know and that don't know them. And it's always interesting to talk about chronic disease within like the medical community, and just how people interpret your disease, like how people see it. For female identifying people, for biologically female people, for people that seem like they may be feminine, people like me who look like they're a girl, it is always interesting because a lot of people assume that we're exaggerating our symptoms, which is fucked up. But women will come into, the hospital and they'll want, some kind of care because they're experiencing excruciating pain, and people will interpret that as they're exaggerating, they're being melodramatic. And then for Black people within the medical community, people like within our families even, underestimate or maybe overestimate our tolerance for pain. It's just assumed that Black people are just strong as fuck and can overcome anything. And that's not true. We're fucking people. And so it's just a double whammy for me. So it's assumed that I am lying about my pain. And it is also assumed that I am able to withstand much more pain than the regular person, the regular white person. And so it's a double whammy. So it like, my pain is assumed to be like at a maybe 5 when it might be at a 10. And it sucks. It fucking sucks. Something that also bothers the shit out of me is comparative suffering. So my mom does it pretty hard all the time. Since I was really young, I have suffered from issues with my mood. I have a mood disorder, so I have a lot of depressive episodes. And my mom will be like, well, think of it this way. There are a lot of people that are in way worse positions than you are. You should remember that when you're suffering. You should remember that and feel better. I'm like, bitch, how does that change shit for anyone? That doesn't mean anything. Like, what you've done is just sidestepped trying to help me. Help your child. Which is, I mean, she's not ever really been particularly good at helping people, like, emotionally, connecting with people. She's just not good at it. And so I understand, but it fucking sucks having a parent like that. Also, my fiance, ooh, he's real bad about it, because he doesn't do it in like to give me perspective of how other people are experiencing life and experiencing pain and all that stuff. He does it from his perspective because that's the only thing that he can actually like draw from to understand how other people are experiencing life. So I'll admit to my fiance maybe that I wasn't able to sleep because, you know, his dad was snoring the night before, and I was unable to get to sleep. And so my fiance will then go on this tirade like, welcome to my world, because I'm not in a position where I can sleep all night, and sleeping sucks for me, and therefore your experience is somehow less valid. And I was like, bitch, can I just like be tired? I always get real fucking annoyed by that, because it's not about you. Like, I didn't start off this conversation trying to elicit that response from you. What I'm looking for is understanding. What I'm looking for is maybe help me to figure out a way that I can sleep because your dad is snoring all fucking night. Or maybe not come into my room in the morning and wake me up because I just got into sleep because your dad woke up and is now no longer snoring, and so I can sleep. Like, I get real fucking annoyed by that shit. Because I tend to afford people the luxury of respecting their experience, and it doesn't seem that I am, that's reciprocated for me. So my fiance, he often gets boils. You know, it's a normal thing for people to get boils, especially, you know, in areas where you get a lot of sweat. And so I understand. You have an ingrown hair, you get a boil, and I'm going to do my best to try to alleviate that pain because I know how much it sucks. What I don't do is tell you that I suffer from having boils all the fucking time. I have festering open wounds in my armpit all the goddamn time. I have boils that I get on my thighs. I get boils on my fucking face. I get them in my back. I get them everywhere. And I am constantly in pain. I get sick from having these boils. I'll get like a MRSA infection and it'll spread throughout my body, through my lymphatic system, and make me really fucking sick. But you don't hear me saying that to my fiance. And why is that? Because I respect his suffering. I respect his experience as a human being, and I understand that his suffering is not the same as mine. And it's so fucking weird that in order to care for another person, you need to be able to validate their suffering. You need to be able to validate it by comparing it to your own and then surmising that it's worse than your own. And now I can care. And I fucking hate that shit. I cannot stand it. Because I don't do that. I just assume across the board no one's experience is the same as mine. Until, like, you know, given further notice, until something's described to me to the extent that I understand it, I'm not going to assume that you're a pussy for not being able to, go through this experience with the grace and the courage that I'm going through it. I don't understand why people do that. It's funny to me. But yeah, I've run into that issue recently with sleep, and feeling like not only is my experience not being respected, but I'm not being respected. And it annoys the shit out of me. And I don't know quite how to express in a way that won't send up defenses for my fiance, because he's a very defensive person. But I think I'll need to. I'll need to pull that band-aid off, because this shit's not gonna fly. Not at all.